Welcome to Hummus and Tech, helping Olim navigate the Israeli high-tech industry.
We are Maggie and Kevin, and we're so happy to have here with us today Yoav Vilner, CEO and founder of Walnut. Thank you so much for being with us today, Yoav.
Thank you, Yoav. How are you?
I'm great. I like hummus and I like tech, so I was glad to get the invitation.
Amazing.
Thank you so much for joining
us.
Okay, it's actually crazy times for you right now. I think there's so much going on in Walnut. Do you want to tell us a little bit more about what the company does and how it started?
Yeah, so Walnut is like my third run in this industry, and everything's been happening fast. So we co-founded the company, Danny and myself, 7 months ago, and ever since we grew to hundreds of companies in a waiting list and a seed round that was a little bit bigger than we expected at first. We just help technology companies to demonstrate their products better and in a more automatic way, and to increase their sales. And it's been really fun so far.
That's so cool. Well, we're happy to hear that, you over exceeded the expectations. So that's always a good sign, I think.
Yeah.
Can you first, Yoav, tell us about your first job in the high-tech industry? How did you start this career?
Right. So I was 22, and it was kind of by accident. I wanted to do marketing for startups, like as a freelancer, but I didn't know any startups and I didn't know marketing. So I just started just learning on my own, and then I joined forces with a friend that was a freelancer doing a little bit of marketing and also not for startups at all. And we just said, let's be these guys. And we started reaching out to companies we read have raised money. So they were obviously startups. And we offered them marketing services, not knowing that much about really how to help them. But we started working with a few. We learned a lot about everything. And, it fast forward 6-7 years later, it was the biggest company in Israel to do that. So we had 600 clients and dozens of employees.
Wow, amazing.
That's amazing. Okay. And then how did it evolve to where you are right now?
It was kind of a fun evolution, because when I was the CEO of Renki, and I saw hundreds of startups in every possible phase, and how they grew, how they shut down, how they succeeded, how they raised hundreds of millions, and it gave me a really holistic picture. And then I left that role as the CEO of the company, because I wanted to do stuff that are more scalable for me, for my own. And then we were a 4 people founding team of a startup called Light, which was designed to save kids from bullies on social media and from pedophiles as well. And there I was not the CEO, I was the CMO. So it was a good run and a really good startup. I hope they succeed, but I felt like it was a great milestone to have. But I felt that I need to be the founder again and think of the product and think of the name and think of where the offices is going to be and everything, because these are the stuff that excites me. So we co-founded Walnut a little bit over half a year ago.
That's amazing how much you grew in half a year. So what was the process from the moment you decided to build Walnut to the moment you decided who you were going to hire for the positions that are relevant?
So the first hire that we had was kind of unusual. It was a VP sales, even before we had a real product or anything. But because we're building something for the sales industry, so we wanted to bring someone in to be as a more of a product side, actually. And then the first developer that we brought is one of the best developers in Israel, and he was a partner of Danny in a startup that they sold together. So we started gathering the best of the best that we can find in our very close network. And even now, that we're almost 15, going to be 20 and 20 something employees, we're still trying to keep it as very, very high level, which is super, super difficult. But people that are really still close to us. It's still a small team. But when I had Renki and when we, at Light, we were like 50 employees. When you grow to this kind of magnitude, then you have to start hiring people, strangers, like you don't know them and you need to trust them. And then it's usually about, so in Renki, it was actually mostly Olim because it was a marketing company. And so we had a department for content, and we had a department for social and PR and et cetera and et cetera. And I think that was my first experience with actually hiring Olim in Israel.
How would I call your attention if I'm not part of this network when Walnut starts to grow and you start reaching out to people that you don't know? How can me as an Ole or as an Ola, how can we get your attention to get a part in your startup?
It's an interesting time because a lot of people need like the first step in the industry a lot. And we get a lot of offers from people and really bright people that don't have the experience. And, people just want to join in, even if it's unpaid, not something I'm going to do because I don't think it's even legal. People want to.
That's a good point.
People wanna be an intern for pretty much everything that they think a startup would need their help with. They want to be a junior, and I don't think that the next wave of employees that we're going to have going forward, I don't think it's going to be in the network anymore. So definitely, if they see something relevant in our website and if they have some sort of passion for the industry that we're at, they should just reach out to jobs@Walnut, and probably we will take a good look. Specifically, I can tell you that we're focusing a lot on marketing and brand. So people that want to help out with pretty much every aspect of marketing, and they don't have a lot of experience and they want to be some sort of an intern or something junior, then I think we have room for actually a lot.
Okay, good. That's very, very interesting. And I think there's many Olim also coming, or people who are not really Olim, but are coming on Masa programs that are looking for a fun and sustainable internship that will provide them a secure ground for them to stay. So what kind of internships and what's the internship procedure that you guys have in mind?
Pretty much anyone that has, I think either marketing or sales internships would work with us. And people that are just like passionate about it, if this is all we care about, like they have to love what they're doing. So we can always use more hands with content and social and SDR work, which is sales development, which means reaching out to potential clients in all kinds of creative ways. These are all the stuff that we can use. It's very new for us. Like we don't have a lot of interns yet. And this is what part of the things I'm working on right now.
Or are you still interviewing everyone who joins the team at this point in time? I know that startups, like at first, the CEO is really involved in the hiring.
I'm very involved. I think until we reach like 40 or 50 employees, and even then, I think that the DNA of the people is what makes or breaks startups. And me and my co-founder Danny were very involved. Even when he's drafting a software engineer, which by the way, we're drafting like 6 of them. So we talked about interns, but if someone here has 6 or 7 years experience in engineering, that also works. So when he's hiring them, I'm also part of the process, even though I trust him. And when I'm hiring a head of marketing or operations or sales, he's still, he's the CTO, but he's still, as a co-founder of the company, he talks to them. And we want to make sure that we preserve like some sort of a culture, like a DNA.
So Yoav, let's imagine we are on an interview and you're interviewing me to start at Walnut. What's one thing that I should do in the interview, or I should, like as an Ole, I should show, or anyone who is interviewing, I should show to you that I'm good at, and something that I shouldn't do in an interview with you?
A lot of people, there's a lot of stuff that are available on me online, like stuff that I'm doing and, stuff that I'm showing in my social networks or that I've done before. A lot of people that interview for us, sorry, there's a lightning. There's an automatic lightning and I didn't move for like 10 minutes.
Move.
Yeah. So anyway, a lot of people are trying to, I totally understand where they're coming from, but they focus really on showing that they know my background and they're talking about what they saw me doing. And and trying to sympathize with that. So I'm doing that too. Hey, that there's a lot of focus on personal life now, and I totally get it because people are trying to find like the little hacks that will get you the best attention, um, which is nice. But startup is business, and before we're looking for friends, we're looking for people that are super obsessed with working for startups, and they're super excited about this specific industry. Like if someone comes to interview, even if they're really looking for a job, if they get bored with sales, which is not for everyone, not everyone has fun writing about sales, for example, or posting a tweet about sales. Probably that's not the best place for them, and they should look for something more interesting. So just show that you're very curious and passionate about what we do. That should be fine.
Great advice.
So you mentioned you hired a lot of Olim in the past, and we know that hiring Olim, it's a bit different than hiring Israelis, just because most of those employees do not have their family here, and they face different challenges that maybe someone who's born and raised in Israel does not face. So how did your company kind of like approach those issues? What was it for you as an Israeli to work with people who were not from here?
Yeah, so it was a very interesting time. There's a lot of upsides and a lot of downsides that are not necessarily anyone's fault, but like I think the best part for us that most of the company, and I'm talking about Ranky now, was combined of Olim. First of all, there was a lot of ways for them to socialize, so they had fun. Like they had their groups of, it wasn't like you're one Ole and then 30 Israelis and you don't have anyone to talk to. So it was kind of the other way around. Um, and the other thing is that we were really we learned how to judge them by their passion and what they can do, and not necessarily about what they've done before. So, for example, so someone came to an interview, and before she was working in something like, I don't know, she was a vet or something, and then she came to Israel and she wanted to write content in an agency, and she was one of the best we've had. And if I don't know, I think if someone Israeli would, if a vet from Tel Aviv would come to me and talk in Hebrew and say that he wants to write content, I would probably think he's taking some of the dog medication or something. Um, but with Olim, you kind of get used to the fact that they're pivoting and they're starting something from scratch. So and we always need good English. Israelis don't have good English. My English is not good enough to write an article, and eventually there was all the pluses, and I think the minuses were where eventually some of them had to leave Israel for all kinds of different reasons, which was a shame. It was like, if you think like 6, 7, 8 years ago, so remote work was a little bit less common. And so one content writer that we really liked, she broke up with her boyfriend and she went back to her parents in the States. And another one, she just got sick of Israel, which sometimes I can understand. And she left us. And there was a lot of reasons for them to leave. But besides that, it was fun.
It's amazing to hear this from someone who is hiring, from someone who is building a company, who is an Israeli executive. It's pretty amazing to hear this from the other side. And in a way, we want to become the same side and become one. But it's great to hear this. I think there's a lot of insights in everything that you told us in this episode. There's a lot of good advice for Olim, trying to interview, trying to get into their first job. So yeah, it's been really cool. Thank you, Yoav. I think that we have 3 more questions to ask you.
Yes. So, Yoav, besides being a very successful entrepreneur, wonderful person who, by the way, interviewed me once. That's a little tip and trick back in the days. He also has a very unique music band, and I'd like you to talk about it a bit because I find it quite unique. And I think that's also something that can only happen in Israel. Who are the members of this band?
Right. So we have I never know if it sounds cool or lame, but we have like a startup band. So
I love it. I love it. I'm your groupie, 100%.
yeah. So yeah, it's a band of everyone's a startup founder. So for example, the drummer Yoni, he's a co-founder of Anydo, which is a really well-known startup here in Israel, and our pianist has a startup called Namogu. I think they're over like 130 employees now.
Yes.
I think they're hiring a lot of Olim, by the way. They do a lot of marketing and sales and this kind of stuff. And so we gather once a week in a serious like professional room, and we have like a producer, and we just
you even have a producer who produces the music. You just notch it out to another level, Yoav.
Yeah, but this is the fun part about a high-tech band, that you can afford like just bringing a producer.
That's amazing. I love it. I love it. And what kind of music do you play? Or is it all genres, just one genre?
So it's usually like the best things that we think out of like 90s and a little bit even older, and we just do like indie, versions of them. So it's kind of rock generally.
That's amazing. Okay, and where can we listen to all that wonderful music?
So we're not proud of it enough to have a YouTube channel.
You should. You should.
But I publish every other day. I publish on my Instagram and Facebook stories. I publish like a little snippet. So you can do it there, and maybe you'll be lucky enough never to hear us. But
no, it's also very worth mentioning that Yoav is very active on social media, and we will tag him, once we publish this episode everywhere. But you should definitely follow him for very amazing content and clearly very amazing music.
The second question that we have for you, Yoav, and it's really important for people coming to Israel because we don't know the place like for the first time, and we don't know a lot of things about this place, and we want to get to know it better. And it's a really important question: is where the best hummus in town in Israel that we can get to?
That is a very serious question. I'm glad that we got there. I'm going to be the first one to probably say it on the show. Abu Hassan.
Shocker.
A classic one. I mean, it's a classic, but really good.
Okay, but we can take a bit further. Really good. What is your go-to dish? What is the hummus that you're craving the most there? What should we order?
Easy. It's a masabacha. Don't take the regular hummus. It's a waste of place in your stomach.
Okay.
Same here.
Okay, so that's masabacha.
Same here.
Yeah. Okay, and finally, one last question. There's many people who are listening to us who are not from Israel, of course, who are living here and do not speak the language yet. So we would like to know, what is your favorite Hebrew word to use in the workspace and why?
And Yoav, it needs to be from the insiders part, right? We know Sababa, we know Yala. Give us something from the inside.
Wow. I use Madhim. Amazing. So every time something good happens, my automatic reaction is Madhim, and every time something bad happens, my automatic reaction is Semek, which means oh crap.
Madhim.
Well,
so yeah.
Madim, thank you so much. We hope this was as Madim for you as it was for us. So we really want to thank you for your time, and we're going to leave all the links attached to this episode so people can apply to Walnut, whatever you're looking for an internship, or you're a very experienced developer, or also you want to listen to some amazing music. So thank you so much for tuning in. You can follow us on Instagram at Hummus and Tech, and on Facebook at Hummus and Tech, and also on LinkedIn at Hummus and Tech. And you can listen to us where, Kevin?
On Spotify, on Apple Podcasts, and also on the Google Podcast app. And don't forget to leave a 5-star review. So thank you, Yoav, and thank you everyone for listening. Until the next episode.
Thank you.
you.
Thanks for sending almost earlier.
Yay.